Now, there are some other contractions that Mounce is going to mention for us. Sometimes we'll have an omicron meeting an epsilon and an iota. And when that happens, it's going to produce the oi diphthong. Okay, so omicron plus a becomes oi. Oi. One example here, we'll use this verb pleirao, which means to fill or fulfill. Its stem vowel, the contract vowel is the omicron, pleira. And then if I want to say you are filling, it's going to be that, pleira ace. Well, what's going to happen here when I contract this? It's going to become play Royce with a circumflex there. Okay, so that's the second person singular form. All right, and then the last set of contractions here have to do with when vowels get to interacting with diphthongs. Okay, so what kind of situations will we have here? Well, I could have vowels that come up against diphthongs where the vowel matches the first member of the diphthong. So if I have an epsilon meeting an epsilon iota diphthong, what will happen? This is a process called simplification. I will simplify the two epsilons into one. So this is just going to become an epsilon iota. Okay? If I have an omicron meeting an omicron upsilon, we simplify the two into one, and we have omicron upsilon. So just one example here, poi plus ace. See how we can have the epsilon meeting the epsilon iota? What's that going to become? Poi ace. All right? So those will simplify. All right. Now, what if my contract vowels are meeting a diphthong where the first member of the diphthong is not identical to the contract vowel? For example, I could have an alpha meeting an epsilon iota. The alpha and the epsilon are not the same. Okay? What happens here? We're going to take the two vowels that aren't the same and we're going to form a contraction with them. And then if there's an iota dangling at the end, it's going to subscript. Why? The result of the contraction will be long, won't it? And iotas will subscript where? Under a long vowel to the left. So take alpha, meaning an epsilon iota. The alpha epsilon will contract to what? Long alpha. The iota will subscript under it. Okay, and then I'll usually see a circumflex there. So example here. What might we see? Agapa. And then an epsilon iota here, right? This is for third singular. The alpha and the epsilon will contract to long alpha. And the iota will subscript, right? And it becomes that. So there you go. So aga pa is he loves. Okay? Now, the you love, singular, is the same thing, except we'd have a sigma there, right? Aga pa plus ace. This will become what? Long alpha. The iota will subscript, and the sigma will stay right where it is. So I'm going to get agapas with a circumflex. Okay? So you love. Over here, we have example poi plus usi. So the epsilon meets an u. What's going to happen? These two will contract. They become u, and then this upsilon will fall out. Okay? So upsilon falls off. So I get poi usi. And the movable nu. All right, so there you go. Now let's just take the remainder of our time and walk through how these contract verbs are going to look when we actually form them using our a-o, e-o, and uh-oh verbs. So agapao has an a-o, poyao has the e-o, and plerao has the uh-oh. One thing that I didn't mention, but I'll go ahead and do it now as we look at forming the first person singular of these verbs is this. When we add to agapao, remember we're going to have the omicron. We should have me. What will the me do for the first person singular? It ends up not being used, right? The omicron lengthens to omega, and the alpha omega they contract and they become omega, right? Okay, so agapo ends up being the first person singular form. Now, what is the lexical form of this verb? It's not. Good guess, but this is why I'm asking the question. It's agapao, okay? Here's the deal with contract verbs. The lexical form is always, with normal verbs, the first person singular present active indicative. But with contract verbs, it's going to be the stem with its contract vowel visible followed by the omega. This form does not exist as a real verb in Greek because it will always contract in Greek, right? The first person singular form is agapo, not agapao. So this is an artificial form. Why is it given this way in our lexicon? It's to help you know that this is a contract verb and that its contract vowel is alpha. All right? So they're just trying to help you along here, taking little baby steps.
What is the advantage of knowing that?
So that whenever you start seeing forms with funky vowels before the personal ending, you know why. This is an alpha contract stem vowel. And that's why this alpha interacts with these connecting vowels and produces this weird thing I'm looking at.
Does that help me in translation?
No. The which contract vowel the contract verb uses has absolutely no bearing on the translation. You're still going to translate these as present tense verbs. It's just, why do the vowels look funny? In that back portion right before the personal ending. All right. Now, this is also going to matter when we start looking at future tense verbs and aorist verbs, because these contract vowels will also do some things. They'll lengthen before we put the tense signs on there. Okay, so let's just real quickly walk through this. So we learned agapo. What am I going to do here with agapa for the second singular? I'm going to add epsilon iota sigma, agapaes. And now I'm going to have some contraction issues, right? What's epsilon going to become? This is going to become a long alpha, and the iota will subscript, and then that sigma will stay. So what I'm going to end up having is, at the end of it all, agapas, right? And I'll have a circumflex there, agapas. Third singular does the same thing, agapae. And what's going to happen there? Alpha epsilon become long alpha, the iota will subscript, right? So third singular is agapa, circumflex. He loves. Agapa plus first person plural, omicron, and then men, right? Agapa amen. These will contract and become what? They're going to become omega. So here, I'm going to use red, and I'll just put a big omega here. You see that? Agapomen. Agapa plus epsilon for the connecting vowel and te. Y'all love. What's going to happen to the alpha epsilon? Which one got there first? The alpha did. So it becomes long alpha. And so what's that going to look like? Basically, we're going to get rid of the epsilon, and the alpha will be long and have a circumflex, right? Agapate. And we're going to slide that te over. In fact, we can do that right now. No, we can't. No, yucky. We'll just write it over again. Okay, so agapate. And then agapa u sin, right? What's going to happen here? If you look at your form, this is on page 143. This is going to contract and become aga. We're going to have to erase that, and we get aga posin. All right. Now, he does not go through this particular contraction. If you were to go to the contractions at the in the appendix here, you see where the alpha and the usin becomes that, okay? So there are some of the contractions he didn't give you, but that's one of them there. All right. Let's real quickly look at the forms of poieo, to do or make, okay? What is the form going to be? Poieo. The epsilon and the omega are going to contract here, and it becomes what? Poio. El pollo loco. Yes. So this is going to be poio, right? Any form of omicron or omega with any vowel is going to become omega. Now, if I have the omicron with the epsilon, that'll become u. But remember, we've got an omega here with that epsilon. So omega always wins, right? You've ever heard of, have any of you ever heard of Big O tires? Yeah? Big O tires, if I'm not mistaken, is the same as, what's this tire place out here that a lot of people go to? American Discount Tires, or America's Discount Tires. I believe they're the same company, but they go by a different name in California. So Big O tires. Anyhow, I always think of Big O, right? Because the O here is the Big O, and the Big O always wins, okay? And it becomes the Big O when it contracts with anything besides the ones in that first set. Okay, poie for the second person plus epsilon iota sigma. What are we going to have here? Simplification, right? So we've got one of the epsilons that's going to fall off, and I'm going to get the contraction into a diphthong. Poies, so you do. So I do, you do, or I make, you make. Same thing with the third singular. That becomes poie for the same reason. Poie men. What's the epsilon omicron going to do? That's going to become u. Okay, so we'll scratch that out and we'll put an u here. Poiumen. Poiet plus te for second plural. What's epsilon going to become? It's going to become epsilon iota, right? Poiete. And then finally, poie plus usin. What's that going to become? The epsilon omicron become u, and the upsilon falls out, right? So I get poiusin. They do or make. And then finally, we have the verb pleirao, which means to fill. So what's this going to be? Pleira with an omega. Omicron and omega will contract, won't they? What do these become? They become an omega. So we'll scratch out the omicron here, and we'll put our circumflex there. Pleiro. I fill. I fill. What's the second singular ending going to be? Pleira, connecting vowel plus the iota sigma. All right, so pleira ace. And what are we going to get here? Yes, this becomes pleirois. So in effect, we lose the epsilon, and we get a long diphthong, oi, right, with that circumflex. Pleirois. Third singular does the same thing, but just minus the sigma. Pleiroi. So he fills. Pleira plus amen for first person plural. What does omicron become? Omicron upsilon. Pleirumen. Right? Pleira plus the second plural. So after we fill, it's y'all fill. Pleira te. What's omicron epsilon contract to? Ah, yes, that becomes oo, doesn't it? So play rute, y'all fill, and then finally play ra, oo, si. What's going to happen here? This is where the vowel meets a diphthong that starts with the same vowel. We simplify, right? So this omicron basically disappears, and the omicron upsilon are a long diphthong. Play rusi. Play rusi. They fill. Okay? So this is what contraction does to your contract verbs. Can you parse them? Sure. You can, right? If you pay attention to those personal endings, you can still parse these.
So you, for the, I got Osi, Koyeus, Koyusin. Are you including the new there or just arbitrarily?
Yeah. So that new is movable, right? So it doesn't really have to be there.
Okay.
So, yeah. All right. Very good.